So welcome everyone to Conscious Living Show, Saturday afternoon in Perth. And on the other side of Australia, I'm interviewing Quentin Strauli. And Quentin's based up in the beautiful part of Sydney in the Hawkesbury. And he has an amazing longevity of experience and training, and has been working with thousands and thousands of clients in helping people to heal themselves, to create a life that's going to be positive and productive and fulfilling. He was the founder of the Australian College of Traditional Medicine, and he currently runs and operates out of a healing centre in Glebe. And he's a master NLP trainer, as well as a hypnotherapy timeline practitioner, trainer. And he's got a very, very long background. Sorry, not a long background, but a very, very amazing background in engineering and business as well. So you're going to be coming out to Perth to present a workshop. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about the meaning of life 101.
Yes, that's a little bit facetious, but it's just like we say, it's intended for anyone that didn't get the user manual when they were born, because ironically, not many people actually know how to reprogram the subconscious, and they live. I have this analogy where the conscious mind, one of three, the gut, the heart, and the head, and the conscious mind is a bit like someone standing on an iceberg and saying to the rest of the body, you're going the wrong way, you're going the wrong way. But they don't actually ever communicate effectively with the subconscious to reprogram it.
So how much do you think of people's lives is really being run by the subconscious? Is it that much? Is it like 90% or?
Well, yeah, 97% of what we do comes from the subconscious. And invariably, we work with strategies. You know, the body has learned a whole series of things. Between -9 months and 7 years old, we've been modeling our parents, our friends, and so we pick up all the behavioral things, all the bad habits. And from 7 onwards, we then start to socialize and get even worse habits. But I often find with our children, the worst things, the most annoying thing about our children is things they copied in us we didn't deal with. So it's a bit like a mirror. It's quite fun. But of course, changing and reprogramming yourself is relatively simple, but it has to start with some fundamental things, is what we'll be doing on the workshop.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about maybe some examples of people that you've worked with in the past, because I know that I've experienced the timeline workshop with you when you were here in Perth a couple of years ago, and I must admit, you know, I haven't practiced it. I think the real problem is that the tools are there, but we don't use them. And it's hard to get, I guess, the results quickly so you can see the benefit of using the tools. Maybe you can give an example of some of the tools and some of the results.
Very lucky in my clinic, I see people for just 1 hour, and an example was Saturday before last. A woman came in. I hadn't seen her for 19 years, and she said, "One session you did with me changed her entire life," and she'd been going to professionals for many years, but they'd actually been using history and structure, but they hadn't got any techniques. So a lot of the techniques, I like to sort of explain that, you know, if you had a sublux shoulder or a medial sort of elbow, tennis elbow or something, you'd expect to fix it, and you'd go to someone to fix it. And likewise, people come to me not only for the structural alignment, but also the emotional alignment. And a lot of them are fixed there and then. And so when we actually, the timeline course was teaching you techniques which you could use or not. With a workshop like we'll be doing on your over in Perth on that Sunday, we're actually changing your base structure beneath all of that, actually getting you to change at a deeper level. And people really don't understand, unfortunately, how to reprogram the subconscious, because bear in mind that it hangs on to anything that's negative and cannot get rid of it by itself. It needs the conscious mind to work with that. And then that can happen in nanoseconds. I always say to the clients, when you're looking for therapy, be it body or mind, find out when the practitioner is going to pay their mortgage off.
Yeah.
Because invariably they work in years, whereas we tend to, with a lot of this stuff, work in literally days or hours.
Yes.
That's it. Now, when you actually look at the three brains, the gut processes pretty well everything. 97% what we communicate comes straight from the gut. And emotions come from the gut. The learnings, the strategies come from the gut. So if you're going to actually change your life, you've got to reprogram the subconscious. I'll give you another example. Recently, I had this guy who was sent to me who was just about to be given the sack. And he walked in and I said, so what do you value at work? And he said, oh, self-esteem and money. And I say, how's the self-esteem? Shit. How's the money? Haven't got it. So we actually took him down into his subconscious, and we found that neither of those were in the top 15 of his values. So when you look at it, we're controlled by values and beliefs that changes the emotional state, that changes the behavior. So if someone comes to me with a behavioral change, we look at the values and beliefs and the meta program. So actually go down into the foundation. And it sounds more complex than it is, because the techniques we use in the workshop are relatively simple and quite profound.
So that's why I've always, wondered why people still use affirmations, because to me, if you've got some values and underlying beliefs and programs in the subconscious that conflict with those affirmations, they're never going to work.
I had an example today in my clinic. I had a client who is a lawyer who's very smart, but he has a strategy in his top 3, which is what we call an away from. Whenever he does a major launch, there's always something goes wrong, because he's cut out one particular thing that's going to screw the demonstration up. And he's had this for years. And of course, I discussed it with him today and said, are you happy with the consequences? And he's thinking about it before we actually do the work, because doing the work is relatively simple, but the outcomes can be quite profound. So we have some simple rules in life. However someone processes is perfect unless they want to change it. And we also have another thing: you never take a problem away until someone's finished with it, because some people actually would be naked without their problems emotionally. So it's up to them. But if you want to make the changes, if you really want to move on fast, then there are some wonderful tools to speed the whole process up.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's going to be an amazing, intense time. And a lot can be achieved in those few hours, just getting down to those. And so how do you identify what those values and programs are in the first place? How do you get to them?
Well, one of the first things you've got to do is get all 3 brains working together, because then that's quite profound. Quite often you find the subconscious doesn't even trust the conscious mind. It actually has been ignored for years. A little voice is saying, Houston, we have a problem, and the conscious mind is saying, be quiet, be quiet. And the subconscious is always going to keep chirping up, because it wants to get rid of the emotional baggage, but it needs the conscious mind to work with it. And that's the ironic thing, really. It's a catch-22. The conscious mind only has 3 jobs. So the rest is done by your subconscious. You couldn't lift an arm consciously. You wouldn't know the 153 muscle groups. You couldn't see me consciously. 12.1 gigs within each eye. It's an enormous processing vehicle, and the conscious mind is managing director sitting on top, and he needs to work with the rest of the body to avoid disease and get outcomes. It's very, very simple if you look at it from that point of view. And for those 3 jobs, the conscious mind, the first one is to be in the moment, because that's always the most important time in our life. Secondly, to work with the subconscious to let go of the emotional baggage. And third, to program what's happening in the future. Like today, we'll be looking out a particular date. To date is currently the 12th of October. So I'd say, right, what's happening for you on the 12th of October, 2024? So going forward, not backwards. 2024. That's a 5-year plan. And if you haven't programmed something effectively by seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, tasting it, then I would say, if you're a company, would you invest in the business? And if chances are, if you've got a 5-year plan or 3-year plan or even a 1-year plan, you wouldn't. So, so it's a combination of not only clearing the emotional baggage, integrating the three brains, but also creating the future for direction, motivation, and focus.
And what do you say to people who say, look, I'm just going with the flow, I'm just open to, connecting with my inner guides and my intuition. And so I don't really want to be making plans for the future because I just want to stay open to being guided.
And that's fine if people are like that, if they are truly listening to their intuition. One of the things we do on the workshop is get you to actually tune in to the signaling system from your intuition. So you can actually experience what a yes feeling and a no feeling. If you walk down the street, you bump into someone, you think, my God, they're shonky. And then you think, hang on, they're a friend of a friend. And you do a deal, you get ripped off. You think, why didn't I listen to that intuition?
That's right.
We all do that, so unfortunately that happens. And sometimes if we listen to the subconscious, it will direct us far better than it would a conscious mind being a control freak, like so many have. And also,
that's the gut, isn't it? When the gut gives you that signal, it's instantaneous, and then your conscious mind overrides it and says, oh, well, no, that person sounds just exactly who I'm looking for to work with. And, the words make sense, and it talks about the principles and visions that I have, but the gut is saying something completely different. So you override the gut.
And we do this to some extent when it comes to relationships. You look across the room and you go, wow. And then 6 months later, you say to them, you conned me. But we put a series of values and beliefs that didn't exist there. We tend to sometimes override that. So men get accused of using a fourth brain, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, so I think this is a really good opportunity for people who are, like I was describing, people who tend to be a little bit in inertia because they're waiting for, signals to come, but they're not actually, moving forward, engaging, creating the kind of life or outcomes that they really want to achieve, that really do resonate with their values. Is there anything, you also talked about body and health issues as well that are helped when you can engage those three brains? Because often, the body is showing up. The body doesn't lie, does it? It's showing up.
Unfortunately, it stores trauma. And people like Dr. Hamer studied 35,000 patients and could tell you that left breast was a home invasion 7 months ago, and we store it. We have tantric energy, free-flowing energy in the body. As soon as you hang on to resentment or guilt or shame or grief, you're putting blockages in your tantric energy, which is very tiring. Now, you and I work long hours. Fortunately, we keep our tantric energy totally clear.
Flowing. That's right.
but I hate people to think it's going to be heavy days. No, you know me. I've always got a dark sense of humor, and there's always a joke here and there. And lots of times to break state and discuss things and open up in all series of things. I mean, one of the things, funnily enough, in nutrition is people forget that the fire, the chi, should be just above our belly button. But unfortunately, a lot of people eat lots of light salads and air and water, and they feed the fire in their brains, and they have enormous fire in their head. So they got it in the wrong place in the body. So we can go all over the place with the workshop because I do 17 modalities. I love the whole story of it, and explaining why, because an awful lot of people do things without understanding why.
Yes, I think that's where it's really valuable, because there is, in the New Age movement and in what I was alluding to before, there's a lot of waffly, imprecise, kind of general, not really being clear, not scientific ways of evaluating or describing or understanding what's going on. And I think there's a real need now for a lot more precision and clarity.
Yes. Well, if go right back to the basics, I mean, our body is continually replacing. I mean, your teeth, my teeth are about 7 years old, but the skin replaces every 28 days. The stomach lining every 6 days. Bones between 3.5 and 7 years, and yet people hang on to past emotional baggage and put it into their new body, which
then of course is exhausting the body as well.
That's all many memories put into the new DNA. So that, their body carries the emotional baggage of the past. And ideally, if you let things go every day, as hard as it may be for some people, if you let it go, then you'll stay relatively young. But I love looking into the structure of the body, the 6 chambers of the digestive system. And even I was explaining to a child today why he cleans his teeth at night and in the morning. And he said, why? I said, well, because you don't make any saliva or spit when you're asleep, which means the bacteria have a field day in the mouth. But most people don't get it. I'm always looking at the reason why behind things. And for example, your strongest muscles in your body are the masticators and buccinators, the things that actually use your teeth. They put 70 kilos pressure on each tooth. People don't understand even the fundamentals of how their body runs. So it's wonderful when you start to understand the reason why behind we do things.
So hence the name, The Meaning of Life 101, isn't it?
That's right. Yes.
So
we might sneak 102 if we have time.
So Quentin, the workshop's going to be held on October the 27th on Sunday, and it's going to be at Conscious Living Expo upstairs in one of the rooms, workshop rooms. So whoever is interested in participating, there is an early bird ticket still available on the website, and it means also that you'll be able to come in and have lunch at the expo. You'll be able to have a look around in between when the lunch break is on. So
33 on the Friday and the Saturday as well, if people want to have a chat.
Absolutely.
And I'll be actually bringing and launching some new products. One that sorts out your gut problems, one that actually sorts out energetics, and one that actually lifts your immune system. And also talking about one on slimming, which comes out in December. Yes.
Fantastic.
And these come in little packets that change your life in 21 days.
Well, I just love what you bring, because you bring it all together. You've got the mind, body, mind, gut, heart, brain, and you've got the products, you've got the body work, you've got the NLP, hypnotherapy techniques and tools. And it's really a beautiful example, isn't it, of the holistic approach, how everything comes together, and you can't do one without the other.
No, you can't. And I suppose one of the advantages I have is with my engineering background, I look at things quite often in a bigger picture. I link several things together because often people say, "Oh, common sense here," but you say, "But no one else did it." And it's a bit like the slimming product we're working on. We're getting a list of people that want to go on it, and for the first month they'll get it for nothing for evaluation. And it's working at 3 different levels, which people don't do normally.
So how's it working?
I love what we do.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you so much for having a chat with me today, and I'm sure if whoever's listening would like to know more, the website is I've just had it up on the screen. It's disappeared.
ACTM, which stands for the Australian College of Traditional Medicine, .com.au.
That's it, actm.com.au.
That's right.
And fantastic, Quentin. And you'll always have a joke. You'll always be able to have a laugh and have some fun. I think that's really important, isn't it? Because everyone gets very serious about issues and change and trauma. but really it can be enjoyable. It can be really fun.
As I was saying to someone today when they said our glass was half full, I said, no, it's just an inappropriate size vessel for the amount of liquid. Look forward to come over. I love it when I come over there. It's great fun.
Yeah, we love having you as well. It's a real joy. You just bring that that mischievous part of you. Fantastic. All right. Well, look, we'll put up some more information about the course in connection with this interview, so you can get more details and contact us directly. And we'll see you at the Conscious Living Expo.
Lovely. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Quentin. Okay. Bye now.